Okay, we're going to talk about titration. This is our last topic related to acids and bases. Okay, now we'll remember back in chapter 4 when we first talked about titration, we said something about standardization, and then we also said something about titration. What is that? That is when you react, we're going to say, for example, a strong acid, like HCl, plus a strong base, like sodium hydroxide, to then get, what do we get? A salt, NaCl, and water, right? We remember that. And when we did it in chapter 4, we had some volume of acid, and we had some molarity of acid, and we needed to either figure out the volume needed of NaOH to neutralize it, or we needed to figure out the concentration. So it's one of these that we had to figure out, or one over here. And what we assumed is that if we have a strong acid and a strong base, that they completely react, they completely dissociate, and form these electrolytes. Now, if we have one of these in excess, that's going to change the pH of our system. And so that's what we're exploring right now. Now, see, in your book, they talk about equivalence point. I don't know if we can see that. Let's see if we can. Yeah, sort of. I'm trying to make it look straight. All right. So here's this graph that I'm having a hard time showing. But this is a graph of equivalence point. So we see at the bottom first, let me just draw it, okay. We have pH, and we have volume of NaOH. So as we increase the volume of NaOH, the pH, first it's really, really slowly, it's still really very much acidic, and then at a certain point, it shoots up, and then it gets very, very basic. So it's acidic, and then it becomes basic. So we see that as we increase the volume of sodium hydroxide, we eventually reach a point where the pH is balanced exactly at 7.0. This is called the equivalence point. Okay. The equivalence point right here. Okay? So this is what we're looking at. For our titrations, we are going to look at some scenarios where we're having strong acid and strong base, and we have some volume of strong acid, and we're adding a volume of strong base. If we add very little, we're going to have an excess of acid, and we're going to be down here. If we add the exact same amount stoichiometrically, then we reach the equivalence point, and we're going to have a pH exactly in the center, where all of the acid is neutralized by base. And if we have an excess in base, then we're going to have all of the acid that's fully consumed and goes to salt, but then we're going to have some leftover OH that's present. And so that's where the pH is going to be high in the basic region. So let's do some of these calculations. We're going to do first the strong acid with the strong base, and then we'll do a weak acid with a weak base, and we will be done. Okay?